Hey guys, it's Arcane Sergio, and I am back with Glad for another episode of our My Singing Monsters crossover with the Magnus Archives. It's been a while since we did the last one, so this was pretty well overdue. So, if you remember from the last time we did this, we basically took My Singing Monsters' new Paironormal class and reimagined it to be synchronized with the entities from the Magnus Archives. I'm not going to bore you with the details since we've already discussed this on the last episode, but for those of you who didn't know or haven't watched the original already, which I recommend you do, the entities in the Magnus Archives are essentially the metaphysical manifestations of humanity's darkest fears. Now, in the last episode, we've already discussed that 6 of the paranormal monsters have been given one of the entities as a kind of association, and Glad and I have also added 3 more based on some of the remaining entities, and now we're going to see just how many more we can pull off. Now, for this episode, it's unlikely that we're going to be able to reach every single one. However, we can at least get started on a few. Now, Glad, this time I'm going to go over these new entities as we go. So, here's how this is going to work. I'm going to select one of these entities that we haven't done yet, and you can go ahead and explain what the entity is and what it represents. That sound good?
Sounds great to me.
Alright, let's just start down the line. So, the first entity that we are going to be dealing with today is going to be the Desolation.
Alright, so the Desolation it's exactly as it sounds. It is destruction, it is the loss of what is important. It is often represented by fire, as a destruction, a destroying of everything you love, everything you care for. But it's also shown up in various other ways. It's been a while since I listened to the podcast, so I don't remember everything.
There
But
is one key detail that stood out to me in the Magnus Archives, and that is the concept of the lightless flame, which is all of fire's warmth and none of the comfort or light. So I believe that this paranormal monster has to reflect that.
I agree.
Now, for this paranormal monster, I have given it the elements ruin and strength. Apparently, all the monsters with the ruin element tend to have the appearance of being in constant pain, at least in the minor form. In the major form, they're just fine.
So I will do a quick disclaimer. I am not very good at drawing monsters. I'm typically more of the humanoid artist. So please do not judge. It
No
is
one's
not.
judging you. These were never meant to be fully fleshed out monsters. These are mostly just concepts.
Did you have any ideas for this monster? Anything you had in mind for this?
So for the major form, it's basically giving off the impression of all the good qualities of fire, the light, the comfort. And then for the minor form, the monster would be fire's destructive capabilities,
Right. Okay.
fully reflecting the concept of the lightless flame.
And did you have any musical instruments in mind or anything like that?
Well, I have heard of an instrument called the pyrophone, which uses fire alongside playing music, although that might not be exactly what we're looking for. I'm thinking maybe a vocalist or a woodwind instrument.
Okay. So What I have here so far is almost like a lightning bug top with very round shapes, round forms.
Hold on a minute. I can actually see the potential in that. Do you remember seeing the Atlantis movie where those
That's one of my favorite movies of all time.
that actually works pretty well, given how we've seen the fireflies that set everything on fire.
Yes.
That's actually the perfect inspiration for this monster.
So hear me out. On its back are these wings, and when they vibrate, it makes the sound.
That sounds about right. If the wings are vibrating, that kind of gives me the idea of a kind of maybe a stringed instrument, because there's already a singing monster that vibrates its wings to make sounds, the humbug. So I do think that this monster could potentially be part of that monster family.
Right now, what I'm doing is I'm drawing out a more clean version of the major form, because the one above is a more concepty sketch to figure out what I wanted to do, and this is going to be more of a
A slightly better
normal.
version.
Yeah, it'll be more polished. That's the word I'm looking for.
I'm thinking that we could make the wings more translucent.
That was kind of what I was going for. All right, and then let's do some colors. Let's throw some colors on.
I'm thinking maybe a kind of candle wax light yellow for the main body.
Yeah. Tablet's working a little slow today, so you'll have to excuse me.
Actually, the wings do kind of look like tongues of flame, so it does kind of match the aesthetic we're looking for.
Yep, that was kind of the hope. There you go.
Okay, now that our major form is finished, let's see if we can fully embrace the concept of the lightless flame in the minor form. Maybe make the insect's body a lot less soft and more jagged.
Yeah, let's have a look here. So I'm gonna copy paste the line art and then I will tweak it.
Maybe make the antenna resemble a pair of horns instead.
My idea was to have them droop a lot more.
That does seem like an intriguing thought.
Okay, I like what I've got going here.
Okay, let's get started on coloring this poor soul in. Alright, this look about what you envisioned?
Looks pretty good to me.
Alright, that's one paranormal down. Now let's see if we can move on to the next one. Editing Sergio here. The rest of this recording session didn't exactly go over so well. The website Glad and I were using to create these paranormals was refusing to work properly, so all the paranormals created after this point were not really made according to either of our standards. So, with the power of editing, and we're back. So, due to our technical complications, Glad and I have decided to do this together in person so that there's no distance between us with some bugged websites. Also, Glad, I felt that it was a little unfair that I was calling the shots on which paranormals were going to happen next, so I'm going to let you decide off of the list I've jotted down here.
Yeah, let's go ahead and go with the lonely.
All right, so based on what I've heard from the series, the lonely is quite literally the fear of being alone. So, what I had for this paranormal is the pros and cons of being alone. On the bright side, you get to do things your way with no one else trying to change your vision. However, on the other side, with you being alone, there is no one to fall back on when things get out of hand.
Yeah, that's about right. Yeah, the lonely is one of the fears that a lot of people relate to, in that no one really wants to be alone for the rest of their lives.
So, I just gave a general idea of what the paranormal could be about, so what do you think could be in mind in terms of design?
Well, we could do some sort of box that a little guy is chilling in.
I'm kind of getting Schrodinger's cat vibes.
Or whatever sound it makes, maybe I don't know, I'm drawing a blank. You got any ideas?
I guess maybe it could be a vocalist. Like for the major form, it's clearly cheerful, but then in the minor form, it's more scared of not being able to interact with each other again, and its voice becomes more trembly in a way.
I had an idea for the minor form of it being the box becoming more like a cage sort of thing.
Hold on. So for the major form, the monster is in the box willingly, but in the minor form, the box is keeping the monster in there.
I'm going to tweak it. There we go.
Maybe give these large eyes kind of resting at the top of the box.
No, I think that takes away from the effect. Alright, let's add some color.
You know, your concept of this kind of works better than what I had in mind. It's the balance between being alone by choice and being forced alone.
Okay, there we have it.
That is our paranormal representing the lonely. All right, that is one down. Which one of these do you want to do next?
We can do the end.
Okay, so the end is basically the fear of death and is actually where the rest of the entities actually tend to stem from, except for one, but we'll get to that later. So my idea for this paranormal is that for the major form, it's a spirit that is all peaceful, but in the minor form, it's this zombified corpse that's still in torment. So I'm thinking maybe for the instrument, it would be probably like some form of woodwind instrument, maybe an oboe. I've seen that be portrayed as both a major instrument and a minor one, or rather a more positive or negative one. It can be used for a peaceful sounding song, but its nasal quality also lends it well for a more ugly side.
Okay.
So the idea is that in the major form, we're turning towards that more peaceful attribute. And for the minor form, since it hasn't quite died in peace, it's more of an angry, restless creature.
Gotcha. Well, I've done kind of your woodwindy. We've got all these valves that can be opened and closed. Kind of a bug or dragon-esque sort of shape to it.
Thing is, for the minor form, we need to make it less spectral. It needs to be clear that because of its restlessness, it hasn't been able to leave its physical body. Or at the very least, it's still tethered to that physical form. What are you doing with the eye there?
Doing like a cross through it sort of thing. Just throw some colors in and see if I find something I like.
I'm thinking of a kind of more ghostly blue for the major form and then a decaying green for the minor.
Okay. Now we're going to the minor form. Okay. That's pretty much done. Here's your major and minor forms.
That is the paranormal for the end. Your call for what's next?
Let's do the flesh.
Okay, so behind the scenes note here, this was one of the paranormals that we tried to do on our earlier attempts, but because the website we were using was being uncooperative. Neither of us were very proud of how the monster turned out, so we're going to repeat it here. So, the flesh is actually a bit of a weird concept. In the context of the Magnus Archives, the flesh is the fear of being processed or eaten as meat, and this has led to the concept of cannibalism in the Magnus Archives. Now, lore wise, in the monster world, the monsters aren't really meat eaters, they're all vegetarian. However, the existence of plant like monsters still makes the concept of the flesh relevant. I've also seen the flesh as being related to body horror or being twisted, so that's also a major part of it. So the idea for this monster is that in the major form, it's this friendly little cook who helps make meals for the other monsters, but in the minor form, it goes great lengths to find good ingredients for its stews, and it ends up finding those in other monsters.
You know how sometimes when you cook food, the food will make sounds like whistling?
Yeah, I've seen that portrayed in some media.
Or like even like when you like cook potatoes and stuff, they whistle when they're hot and you pull them out the oven. So we'll say that's what's going on. So here's our major form, and then for minor form,
I gotta say, this seems a lot smoother than anything Magma has been capable of.
yeah, Creed is great. Open source, great art program. This isn't even sponsored. I just love Creed. Very good program, especially if you're a casual artist and not super duper gung ho or like willing to spend money, which I'm not.
The flames are growing larger. This man is desperate to create a masterpiece.
Okay, so we've got our forms here. Let's color them in.
I got an idea for the minor form. Pull an Azula and make the flames blue.
Did you know lobsters in real life are actually blue?
Wait. You're actually giving me a good idea. Make the major form a normal blue lobster and the minor form a red lobster.
That's what I was doing. That's why I brought it up. It's not okay though. Alright, there you have it. Major and minor forms.
Now, this is a lot better than the last concept we made. Just for the guys viewing this, I'm going to see if I can edit the picture of our previous attempt on a flesh Paironormal up on screen here, so you can see how much better it is.
Alright, our next one is going to be the dark.
So, in general, the dark is exactly what you think it is. It's the fear of the dark. However, I wanted to go more abstract with this. I actually found out that a lot of the dark has to do with the concept of blindness or ignorance. So, I'm thinking for the major form, we have the concept of ignorance is bliss. And then for the minor form, we have a monster who is foolish because they willingly turned away from any sources of knowledge and now have no idea how to truly live.
Here's a different idea. We do a silly little guy. He's tucked up in a blanket. He's all cozy. Everything's great for him. He doesn't mind the dark. He's ready for bed. He's sleepy. But when the dark does come, which it always does, he's scared and tucked away, hidden and sick.
I've heard that the dark is kind of a fear of the unknown because you never know what's hiding in there. And that's kind of what's going on here. you're afraid of something that you can't see. What were you thinking in terms of the sound?
I'm thinking I'm gonna do like a little rattlesnake sort of thing. So this is like a shaker. So would be more like a maraca sort of thing, where it's shaking onto the words. This is more like almost like a rain stick sort of thing, where it's a more continuous sound like that.
By the way, this was the other paranormal that we attempted to do for the first attempt that never truly made it past the concept phase. I'll see if I can put that on screen as well. I do like the detail of the minor form being more dark, since it's the only source of darkness they can control.
Yeah.
Is that supposed to be a claw of darkness on the top?
Something like that. There we go. There's your major and minor form for the dark.
This actually has a bit of an interesting concept that I failed to really grasp. So I do appreciate your insight on this. And with that, we only have one last paranormal left to go.
Yep, that's the hunt.
The hunt is the oldest of the entities in the Magnus Archives, and it is the concept of being chased. It's this old primordial fear that more or less everyone has. So I'm thinking for this paranormal, we have the contrast between whether being chased can be playful or if it can be terrifying. I was thinking a kind of canine monster where the major form is just this playful little pup, and then the minor form is the savage wolf.
I went for something very similar right out the gate, something canine-esque. I'm not the best at drawing dogs, but I do my best.
I want to emphasize the fact that this is a more savage beast, one that enjoys the thrill of the hunt. Oh, and to the viewers, keep in mind, the hunt only really gets a thrill when it's chasing someone. Catching the prey is not very satisfactory for it. It only cares about the pursuit of its prey.
Okay, now let's get some color.
Kind of reminds me of the Minecraft wolves.
That's kind of what I was going for.
Ooh, hold on a minute. Is that blood in its mouth?
Mm-hmm.
We are getting dark.
Okay, there you have it.
So, that is all of our Magnus Archives entities associated with a paranormal monster. I'd like to thank Glad once again for taking the time and effort to making all of these, and of course to you guys, the viewers, for sticking with us towards the very end. And as always, happy monstering.
Oh, you didn't think this was over, did you? Well, that's where you're wrong. Because I've decided to create more polished versions of the monsters Glad created. And I've also given them names as well as the elemental combinations, since they weren't really visible for this second video. Regardless, I hope you've enjoyed this short little mini-series, and as always, for real this time, happy monstering.